Now, hello folks, I'm LA Little and this is your daily NeoTA Wrap. We're going to take a look at these markets and do it from a neoclassical perspective each time, asking ourselves one question: what happened today? What does it tell us about the coming ones? We do this show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time, archived on YouTube. It's under the channel LA Little. As far as the markets, what happened? Well, yesterday, I was pretty set on this market getting a setback, going down. And that's not what happened. In fact, overnight the market was up pretty huge. It sold off into the opening. It looked like it was actually going to go down, then flipped around and went all the way back up, and then sold off some more in the afternoon. So in today, though, we were up 1%, anywhere from 0.5% to 1%. Pretty much flat elsewhere. Some movement in gold and silver, but they gave up most of their gains. The dollar was down. Just a mixed day, really, other than the markets, working higher when we thought they would work lower. And when I see something like that, the first thing I do is I say to myself, the thesis, you're always putting a thesis out there, and you're asking yourself, okay, what should happen? And then you observe those tests. And when you get a fairly clear set of signals, as we did yesterday, and then you don't get the follow-through that you expect, then either you are reading something wrong, or this market is having some sort of an aberration that's only going to last for a bar or two. But typically what I do is assume that I'm reading something wrong, and that in fact this market knows what it's doing. So what happened today, if we look at the failures yesterday, right, you go over back under. Today, it did pop back up, but it really didn't get over it. Volume's about the same, a little bit lighter. You did get under back over if you want to really, look at this, scrutinize it, right? Look at it with a fine comb. But it's hard to take a read on this and make a judgment as to whether yesterday's calls were right or wrong. So, this is one of those situations where you didn't quite get what you expected. It's not the opposite completely, but it's certainly not what it looked like it was going to be. So you just got to wait it out. You got to give it another bar and see what it is. Is it really the market, having an aberration, or is it something larger? Is there something larger at work? Some sort of a read we're missing here? It's not clear. And so, in that particular case, you just have to wait. If I look elsewhere, if I look at the NASDAQ, for example, NASDAQ gets under back over a little less volume. So again, that looks like, on a classical situation, when we look at our projections, that says it's going to try to go higher tomorrow. If we look at the NDX, it's set up the same way, under back over, also got the same scenario. Russell was the weak one again today. Although it did finish up, it got under back over, a little bit less volume too. So, if we look at the Neo reads tonight, they are slightly in the favor of some sort of a push up tomorrow. You got the bigger picture failures from the day ago that are still out there. I'm not ready to write those off quite yet, but at the same time, I'm not ready to put money on them. In fact, I did have money on them coming into the day, and I had to close those shorts this morning when things started turning. If we skip over to the world markets and start with the DAX actually did pull back like we expected, a little bit of volume pickup. The target here is back into this top of the big bar, which is about 99.35. If we move over to the French market, the CAC, it also did the same thing. So we're getting that kind of a pullback in Europe that we thought we would get, even though we didn't get it here in the States. Also started to get it in Hong Kong, where you came off that high. You lost, looks like about, what do we got, 2.5%. Coming back into the gap area. So tonight will be a test of that gap area. I'm not looking at China all that much anymore, as we still have quite a bit of intervention going there, but China's just hanging. That sort of a setup says it wants to get back into that swing point low. The only other one worth looking at is Japan, and Japan came back about halfway into that bar, ended up higher by the end of the day. Well, when I say higher, it came off the lows. So not surprisingly, when we look inside the market, like looking at the sectors here on the stocks, for example, you go under, back over, less volume. Again, that kind of argues that you're going to try to push back up. Financials, same sort of a situation. If we look at technology, now technology had more volume and came down back up, so that one's more mixed, saying that it could trade lower. But if you kind of go around the horn here, most of these are small setups. They try to go a little bit higher tomorrow. You got a few failures like this one on the IYT where it goes up, tries to get over the swing point low again. Remember, we were doing that retest regen yesterday. We said it failed. Well, it goes and tests it again today and fails again today. So that one's still in the same boat after a full retest regen. I went looking, as I said earlier, to try to understand what was happening. Is there some larger something going on in these markets? I looked at currencies, I looked at the bonds, I looked pretty much everywhere I could, and I didn't find anything. Inside day on the TLT, nothing really there. On the oil market, nothing really happening there. If I look at the dollar just pushed back in, but it's still in that big range, that it's been in. If we look at the weekly time frame, the general commodity index isn't telling us anything. The shorter end of the curve isn't telling us anything. Junk bonds aren't telling us anything. There's just really nothing out here, high quality junk or even the junk. It's pretty much the same picture. Now, bigger picture, right, these things are stuck in a range underneath the breaks, which is not bullish. But on a short-term basis, they're not really giving us any clues. So if we step back, ask ourselves what happened today, did it tell us anything? Well, it did, and it said, hey, maybe we're not quite ready to go down. Maybe there's some bigger something going on here that we're missing, because after pouring through, several charts this evening, I can't find it. At the same time, I don't like to discount the market and say the market doesn't know what it's doing, because typically it does. So I give it another bar, see what it wants to do. Unfortunately, this is Thursday, so the other bar is Friday. I won't be on tomorrow night. We'll have to pick it up on Sunday and see what we have then. Thanks for joining me. You tell a friend, tell two. I'm LA. This is and was your daily NeoTA Wrap. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you next week. Good night.